How does this sound? I'm super excited to be here with you, and I hope you are happy to have me too. Hi everybody, this is Erica Bates, and this is the I Pick Passion podcast, the very first episode. So excited, so excited. And not only do you get one, but you get two. I'm sorry. Not two, 3 episodes coming to you, dropping all at once. Of course, I'm not recording these all at once, but you get 3 back to back to back. So hopefully you guys will want to come back for the 4th and the 5th and the 6th and so forth and so on. Super excited about this podcast. I am nervous out of my mind, but a part of this I Pick Passion inspiration is that even when you are nervous, you do it anyway. Like, we do things scared over here, right? We do things, even if we don't really know what we're doing, we're like, hey, this landed on me. This is in my heart to do this. Like, I'm going to figure it out even while doing it. I took a lot of time. I originally announced back in January that I was going to be launching a podcast. It took me up to this point to do so. So it's taken me quite some time. I pray that you guys are still with me and you didn't lose interest. But it took me a minute because I wanted to make sure. I don't consider myself to be a perfectionist. However, it's important to me that I know what I need to know in order to do what I'm trying to do to the best that I can. It might not be perfect. Like I said, I don't expect that it will be perfect, but I do expect good. I expect great. I expect quality. I'll say, right? It may not be the best quality, but let's say good quality, right? So, we were looking at the levels, good quality compared to best quality. And best quality, hope we'll get there. But today I just wanted to start this, and I hope that you guys will return. I'm super excited about I Pick Passion because this podcast is like a passion project for me. It's like my baby. It's literally like a baby that I feel like I'm birthing into this world. So it is definitely important to me to make sure that I have everything that I need to have in order to make this baby a success. That's basically what I'm striving for here. And I Pick Passion is my passion project that I was inspired probably about a year or so ago to start. I always had a love for radio or for talking. And I always said if I ever had a radio show, which was just before podcasts became a thing, or before I knew about podcasts, the podcast became popular, it was radio. We heard radio. And I always had a love for radio. Of course, I will get into my background some, but I always had a love for radio. And I said, if I ever had my own radio show, I would want my radio show to have a co-host. I don't know that I could actually do this by myself. I was like, by myself? Am I that entertaining to talk to myself, by myself, for an extended amount of time? I don't think I'm that entertaining. I mean, I think I'm pretty entertaining and I'm pretty content with myself. I love myself. However, am I entertaining enough to be entertaining for the masses? I was like, I don't think I trust myself that much. But, so I always wanted a co-host. However, here I am in front of you. These first 3 episodes will be solo, so you will not get a guest. But guests are the main theme of this podcast. So in the future, we will have guests, majority guests. This podcast is geared for, however, we will be talking to so many amazing people that are doing their thing in their own field, in their industry. So we may venture out beyond creatives, but this is mainly for creatives because I, as a creative myself, also strive to get that inspiration, to be motivated. I strive to be entertained and also educated, which education, inspiration, and entertainment are our 3 themes of this podcast, the 3 things that we mostly focus on in this podcast, because I feel like that gets me through my life. Those are 3 major keys to getting me through my life. Every day I wake up for inspiration. I love to be inspired. There's no better feeling than being inspired. And whatever that is, that might change day to day. One day I might be going back, taking it back, throwback hits, I might be feeling very nostalgic, whatever that is. Or, I might find a new podcast, read a new book, or learn something new, or talk to someone in conversation. And that inspires me. And I may actually get educated at the same time. I love to learn something new. You're never too old to learn, right? A lot of us, we often get to a certain point in life where we almost feel like we're too big for our britches. If you ever heard that saying before, like we're too old to learn. Like we can't learn anymore. We've reached the cap. And to me, as long as you are living on this earth, you are never too old to learn something, whether that be from someone older than you, or whether that be from someone that's younger than you, because you can also learn from someone that is younger than you. So don't ever feel like they don't know because they are that age. No, give them more credit than that. You can always learn something new. And so that is very important to me as well. And also, I love my entertainment. I live for entertainment. The world is so serious. There's so many things going on in the world. We live for those moments of levity when I can just let my hair down, whether that be binge watching a TV show, whether that be listening to my new favorite song, or whatever that may be. Be inspired, people. Be inspired. Be entertained and be educated. So that is the focal point of this podcast. So I want you guys, every time you listen, I hope that is something that you pick up from this podcast. But we will be listening. We will be guests. We will have our guests on here. We will be having some solo episodes. If you guys enjoy the solo episodes, please let me know. Please comment and let me know, because I'm in my head about this, because I feel like I don't even know if this is going to be sustainable as a solo, just me. However, if you enjoy this episode, please, or the next two, or however many, let me know, please, because I need that for not saying I'm not confident. I go into this, I have confidence. However, this will boost the confidence to know that, hey, girl, you got this. These solo episodes, you got them. Rock that. Don't let nobody tell you different. You got this. So I'm super excited for the podcast again. I Pick Passion is here. It's in your ears. For now, it will be audio only. So I just want to kind of give you all a rundown of what to expect. It will be audio only for now. I was originally going to do visual, and eventually, of course, visual will come. I want you all to know that is the goal long term. However, right now, because this is still a learning phase for me, I don't want to put that pressure on myself to have all of the things. So I'm just giving myself a little bit of grace here, and I just want to start with audio. So I hope you guys are along for the ride, and you're not critical of the fact that this is not a visual podcast at this moment. But I hope that you enjoy me in your ears. And I think it's a little bit more intimate when I can be in your ears more than you seeing me anyway. I think there's something intimate about hearing someone every day, or wanting to listen or tune into them and have them in your ears while you're doing your day-to-day activities. I think that to me is an intimacy, a level of intimacy that I'm super excited about to give you. And so again, we will be bonding. I hope to create a lot of community here, whether that be in the comments. I hope to meet you all in the streets. If you see me, of course, I hope to see you, take pictures, whatever the case may be. I hope to create a community of people that we can trust each other, and that we learn from each other. Again, we learn from each other. We're inspired by each other, and we're entertained by each other. I'm always going back to those 3 facts, guys, because that is the core of this podcast. So I want you to know that. And also, just not shameless plug, but shameless plug at this moment. Speaking of the core of this, we are the 3 core values of this pod. We do have merch at this very moment. We have a starter merch, as I like to call it, pre-launch merch. So right now, that pre-launch merch, even though we are launching, the merch is also available right now. I will be adding to what is already in existence. However, right now, I want you all to know that the merch is available at this very moment with the logo on it. So I hope you all get excited about it and share, tell a friend, and tell a friend, and tell a friend. And I hope you all excited to rock the brand, because if you see me, you probably will see me with the I Pick Passion merch on, because I will be marketing and promoting my brand, because again, I'm so excited about this, and I want to share and tell the world. So I hope that you do too. So I pick passion. Again, I was inspired about a year or so ago to say, hey, Erica, start your podcast. Like, start a podcast. Start a podcast. Create your own show. And I Pick Passion kind of came to me and played with names. And I was like, I want something around the word passion. I said, because passion's always been, since I was a kid, passion's always been my favorite word. And it's weird. I don't know why or where that came from. But passion has always been a word for me that has been dear to me. When I say dear to me, it's been dear to me. I have it tattooed on my wrist, on my left wrist. It is ingrained in me, in my DNA, and who I am. I am a passionate woman, Black woman to be exact. I am passionate in this world. At everything I do with passion. And for me, if passion is not involved, it's in some capacity, it's no interest for me. I'm bored of it. It's not, I can't stick around if there's no passion for me anymore. So passion has to be at the top, at the tippy top of everything that I do. I go in it with passion. And so I am a passionate woman. And so for me, because I've always strived to, that's been my life. That is who I am inside and out. I strive that and I want that for other people. So I'm like, hey, I pick passion. Like, over anything, I pick passion. That's why it's I pick passion. That's what I pick. That's what I choose. I always choose that. And so I didn't want to say I choose passion, but I pick passion kind of flowed better, right? So that's where the inspiration for the podcast came from, the name. And I knew that I wanted to talk about passion. I've always talk to people. When I talk to people, I always end up getting involved in their story. I always ask them like questions about their careers, what made them do what they do. I've always been intrigued by people, their background in their businesses or whatever the case, what made them do these things. I've always been intrigued by that. And I've always, if people aren't on the path that I believe and I see and I know that they could be doing their greatest potential, I'm like, hey, what do you like? I always have been not preachy, but to, talking to those that I see that I feel like could be doing so much more, or that express to me that they want to do so much more. I'm always want to be encouraging to say, hey, do that thing, like figure that thing out that you love, whether that be to my family or whether that be to friends or whether it be to a stranger. That's who I am at the core. So I Pick Passion is this outlet, not only for you, but for me, because I need this too. Don't get it twisted. Like, your girl is not perfect. Your girl doesn't have it all figured out. Your girl's still figuring this life out at almost, I'm going to go ahead and drop my age in this first episode. I will be 36 in October. So to say the least, like, hey, like, yeah, I am still figuring this life out. Like, don't get it twisted. So I need this too. I need this inspiration. This is inspiration for me, and I'm right now, I'm recording this raw. Like, I just want you all to know this is raw. This is like just, I hope that the audio and everything sounds amazing, because this is just this is just where I'm at right now. And I hope that you are enjoying it. This is, again, it's a learning curve for me. And again, figuring it out. I'm figuring this out too. So again, I hope you all are along for the journey. And I hope that you love the transparency, because I am transparent. That is who I am and who I've always been. I strive in being as transparent as possible. Of course, I keep things nuggets for myself. I don't share everything. Of course, everybody, I don't think nobody shares everything, right? Or at least not all at once. However, at the core of it all, it's transparency. The transparent part is, hey, I don't know what I'm doing here, figuring this out, but I hope that you're here for the journey. So guys, so anyway, a little bit about my background. So I was a passionate, again, I'd say passionate. I was a young Erica, was very, very content. Again, as I mentioned earlier, I was very content with myself, just being by myself. I never had to have, be around. I was very shy. Also very shy, which a lot of people that know me, they're like, I've never even, or think they know me. They're like, what? You're shy? Like, I don't get shy from you. Believe me, I am shy. I am shy. And inside of me, I'm actually introverted. I am an introvert. However, I can be extroverted but I am introverted. That is literally who I am. That goes back to that young girl who was shy, who loved and was content to herself, by herself. I was never really that person that wanted to, I was never outsider in that way. Like I was very much like to myself. And that's still who I am to this day. Like that has not varied very much from the script. Who I was then is almost who I am now, of course, as an adult version of that young girl. So yeah, I was very passionate and about who I was then and still am. And I started writing really, really young. That was actually my first, as early as I could pick up a pen, I was writing. Loved writing. Didn't really recognize it until a teacher pointed it out to me that I actually had a gift for writing. I never really realized it. I think I was like maybe elementary school. And I remember writing like a paper, creative writing for creating a story and writing, and I had to turn it into school. And I remember my teacher said, "This is good." Like I remember her saying, "This is actually good. Have you ever considered writing contests or trying to be a writer, or like, have you ever thought about that?" And I was like, "No, not really." I knew I loved it. I knew I was always very creative and I had a crazy imagination. I knew that I could imagine anything. My imagination, I missed the imagination I had when I was young because I lived in my imagination as a kid. And so because I knew that, I was like, man, but when she pointed it out to me, I was like, yeah, you might be right. Like I kind of do have a thing for this writing thing. And then from that point, I was writing, still just creative writing. And I used to create plays and, scripts on the fly with like, I could just come up with the story, concept, come up with the story, and it was on. Like I was directing, I was doing all the things on tape with my family and my best friend at the time. Like I was like, hey, look, and thank you. Shout out to you guys. You know who you are. Shout out to my brother, my sister, and my childhood best friend. You guys are the real MVPs because I had this crazy idea and y'all were like, y'all just went with it. Y'all didn't you didn't question me. You knew Erica, that's who Erica is, and we're going to rock with her. And I appreciate you all for doing that. You never looked at me crazy. I mean, y'all knew I was different. I mean, I was always knowing I was different. I still am different. But you loved me for who I was. And I appreciate that. And you sat there for hours, no matter how long it took, pause, stop, all the things, and play. And you all, like, if I'm directing you, you went with whatever it was that what direction I gave you. And I appreciate that. And we came with, actually, it turned out to be a really good masterpiece that we created. I was just very creative as a kid. And the funny thing about it, I never did communications or anything like in high school. I was in FCCLA in high school, but I never did anything like clubs. I did FBLA, stuff like that, but I never did like writing, or I never did like newspaper or anything. Why? I don't know. Probably because that's that shy part about me. I've always been afraid or had a fear of stepping out, especially of my comfort zone. So I never did those opportunities. However, I wish that I did. Looking back, it would have been nice, but I'm not mad at the path that I took. So high school, I graduated. I didn't do communications, center of communications, and my high school, Verona High School in Richmond, Virginia. That high school, actually, the center of communications was at Verona. It was really no excuse that I did not, because at that point, I kind of developed a passion for talking and thinking about little, things like that, radio. And my mom used to tell me, because I was such a talker and not a debater, but I could question, or, I had a way of talking and putting things and wording things. I always had a way of with words. And she said, the way you talk, she said, you're either going to be a lawyer or you're going to do radio. One of the two. Well, she was partially right. I did end up doing radio. I didn't have my own show. I never did have my own show, but I interned for two of my greatest mentors of all time, Sean Anthony and Big Keith, in Richmond, Virginia. They were at the time on iPower 92.1. And so I met them. It's funny, to be honest, I don't remember how I actually ended up meeting them, but I knew that they were looking for interns, or, hey, come up, meet them. And then they kind of like, I expressed my passion and what I wanted to do, and that I, shared my love for radio and communications, and they kind of just took me under their wing. And I think I had the longest internship that I ever remember having. I interned for them forever. And so doing all their production and everything, which was amazing, amazing experiences. I met a lot of people. I learned a lot. I had a lot of great perks that came with it. It was amazing, great times. But I still was actually looking for more opportunities in radio. And I was never able to get an official internship. Now, when I say, I'm using quotations here, an official internship, because I was not at the time in school. I went to a community college briefly straight out of high school, and then I stopped. So I wasn't getting school credit, so they weren't able to give me an official internship, but I found my way. And I remember before, I would contact the radio station all the time. Everybody up there knew me. They knew me when I called. They knew my name. The persistence was real, y'all. Your girl was like looking for opportunities. And I ended up finding my way to them. I remember I interviewed one time. And I remember interviewing with the radio director. I don't remember what his position, what his title was, but I remember interviewing with him. And I remember, to this day, I thank her, TT Torres, legendary TT Torres. She happened to come in at the same time I was interviewing. She kind of stepped into my interview and kind of chimed in. I remember her saying to me, she said, "Have you ever thought about starting a blog?" And I was like, no, never thought about starting a blog. At this time, this might have been 2009, maybe. I might be making this year up. But I was like, look, never thought of it. Don't even know what that. I graduated 2007, so it was 2 years after. I was like, no, I don't quite know what a blog is. Never heard of it. So I ended up researching it, found it out, looked it up, and I learned that exactly what a blog was, and it was becoming a popular thing at the time. I created a blog. That blog was Who Gossips. Who Gossips was the brand. It was a WordPress at the time. WhoGossips.wordpress.com is still up. I'm sure you guys can check it out. But that was my first blog. That was my introduction to internet writing, more or less. And it was super exciting. The new world. I was doing Who Gossips. So it was mainly like celebrity news. That was kind of my focus. So it was kind of like a Nicole Bitchie, if you guys remember her at the time, the Jasmine brand. It was like all that. That was like a competitive type of industry at that time when it came to blogging. It was very much like everybody's trying to cover this and that. Concrete Loop was very popular around that time. And so I wanted to join in. And so I did. That was what I literally created. I created my own, which was really exciting. So after that, I was still creating my blog. I was interning. Then I remember I ended up landing a job at an actual radio station. This might have been, so this fast forward to about 2010 or 11. I ended up landing a job at a radio station as what was my position? I know I was doing like not canvassing, but the marketing. I was going to like the events. I was setting up the events and things like that for all 4 of the sister stations in Richmond. And so kind of went out, set up. I was driving the station vehicles, going to help them set up and everything. It was like the street team, but I forget the official title. However, that was kind of cool. I did that for a while, met a lot of great people and people that I still know and to this day. So that was pretty awesome. So of course, at that point, when I began that career endeavor, I had to leave behind my internship with my amazing mentors. So I left that behind to kind of go separate ways. And again, that was a great time working at Cox Media. And so then after that, I started writing. I believe I got back into my writing. This might have been like 12 or 13. And mind you, I had jobs. I was working at the radio station at the same time. That was my part-time. I had a full-time at the same time. And while I was interning, I was working full-time. So I always had jobs, like full-time jobs, but these were like my passion things on the side that I wanted to grow and actually wanted to have a full-time career in doing. So then I started writing again. The first website I ever wrote for was the Jasmine brand. And so that was pretty awesome as an experience. I believe it was like an internship at the time that I kind of did with them. So it was brief, but I learned a lot and that was pretty awesome. And then I started writing for Respect magazine after that. Respect magazine is very well, it was a well-known magazine, online publication that I really, and they also had a paper. They had a paper. There was a paper magazine, paper copy as well of Respect that used to be on the stands. If you know, you know. But it was a great experience. I loved doing that. Like, I absolutely loved writing for Respect. I met a lot of great people. I started interviewing at that point. I had got to be a recorder. I started reaching out to people, contacting, asking them if I could interview them for the publication. So this kind of got my feet wet in like interviewing and what that looks like, what that honesty looks like. And so, and I was writing and pumping out the articles, man, online, which was, again, a good time. Then after Respect, it was Pink Magazine. I started writing for Mecca Moore. If you know, you know. She was definitely legendary in what she was doing at that time. Pink Magazine was a really amazing brand for women, specifically Black women, very much geared to anything makeup, beauty, anything, you know, wellness, anything for the girlies. And so I started writing for her. And then after Mecca Moore, I went to complete opposite, writing for women. I went to writing for men. And I was the only female on the staff of the Quintessential Gentleman, which is a very popular magazine, still around, online publication at this point, at this time, doing their thing. Super happy for what they're doing over there. Eric Thomas, shout out to you. I had a great time writing. I was the only female on the staff, which was very interesting, and writing for men, specifically Black men. And so I was interviewing, reaching out, again, still interviews. Interviews has always been my thing. That's been the core of like what I do when it comes to my writing style and as a journalist. So interviewing is a love for me, because I love people's stories. I love to get to know people in their stories. So that is what I did for the Quintessential Gentleman. Then I left the Quintessential Gentleman. And after that, I was, of course, throughout this time, I was writing for, this was all for no monetary purpose at all, which I had a passion. Again, this was my love. I love to write for the exposure, and I thought that it was good. It was a good experience for me to take it and move on. And so at this point, of course, throughout all of this, I'm working. Life kind of changed at this time, so I stopped writing for the Quintessential Gentleman. Could no longer I didn't have the capacity for it at the time. So I stopped. And then I said, I want to do something in the media space again, but I wanted to be on my own terms. I knew I wanted it to be for me, and I wanted it to be monetary. I said, I've been doing this for far too long for no monetary purpose. This is at this point, 2018, 2019. I said, I've been doing this far too long with no monetary purpose at all. Like, it's time now for me to get paid if I'm going to do this. So then I started writing briefly again for the Jasmine brand. And of course, it was a paid opportunity. I started writing for them briefly again. It was just a brief spell. But then I said, you know what? I'm not being fulfilled here. Like, I'm not being fulfilled. I want to do something. I want to write. I want to tell stories, but I want to do it differently. And so I kind of always play with the idea of, I don't necessarily want to do a blog again, but I want to tell stories still. And again, I want to do it on my own terms, still teetering with that idea. So then the podcast, years later, after things kind of settled, the podcast came about, the idea to do that. And podcasts, of course, at this point are booming and very, 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 very popular. Everybody has a podcast. So it's kind of flooded, but then it's not, because I heard a great podcast to say, an amazing podcast, and I'm personally inspired by. I heard her say that, it's not necessarily, we think it's more saturated, but a lot of people start podcasts and they don't finish them. So the goal here is, if I start this, my plan is to finish this. I want to see this through. I have big goals for this. And also I played with the idea for a while back. Let me go backwards a little bit. I played with the idea of getting into script writing, screenwriting. I wanted to get back to my creative self. And that's still something that I'm playing around with. I remember I said, Erica, I want to get back to the core of who I used to be, who I used to be, who I was as that little girl in me, right? That loved to creative write and just love to create stories and worlds. But then I also love to tell other people's stories, and I love their worlds, and I love to get into their worlds. That's kind of this like a marriage there. But I am right now, I have done a little bit of creative writing. That's something that I'm still kind of learning, the script writing and all of that stuff. But I will eventually, I hope that doors will open for that if that is meant to be. But right now, the podcast is my baby. That is what my focus is here. And I'm super excited that you're here with me. And I hope that you're on this journey again and for the long haul, because I'm in this for the long haul. We're going to learn. We're going to be inspired. And again, this is not just for you. I want you to be clear. I want you to understand that this is for me too. Like, I need this. I need these interviews. I need to be inspired by these people and their stories and all the people that I'm going to have on here. I'm inspired. I've been inspired by these people in some way. Like, I can assure you. And I hope to learn something from people that I may not have ever listened to or met or don't know or hope to learn. I can't wait for you guys. I'm excited about it. I want you to be excited with me. And yeah, man, like, share, subscribe, comment, all the things. I encourage you to be a part of this I Pick Passion family and community. And I look forward to so much more to come. And the next episode, we're going to be talking about passion, of course. We're going to get into the depth of what passion is and how to identify your passions and all of those things and what to do with that and we're going to get into all the things. I promise you it's going to be great. We're going to define it. We're going to define it, and we're going to know what we need to know to move ahead in this journey. And when it comes to the world of passion, okay? So anyway, I'm not going to keep talking your head off. I hope that you enjoy this episode and getting to know me a little bit more. Until next week.